Black Order, EmRauders, the Mercs, they're everywhere now on war defense. How do you counter these guys, especially now that we have ISO 8s and Symbiotes thrown in the mix? Well, I got my buddy, some random guy that really enjoys playing war, to help me figure out some of these extremely difficult war counters that we're seeing everywhere. So if you're ready for that, my brother, random guy that likes war, tell him what to do.
I've got the solution to your war problem right here. Let's go, spend it!
ValleyFlyin.
Woo! What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I am ValleyFlyin. Welcome back to the ValleyFlyin channel. And I got my brother, OhEmGee. There he is. I didn't see you at first. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm loving war. Let's go.
Oh, solutions, money. Now, that is the ultimate solution. But for those of you that don't want to just throw money at this problem and want to actually beat these teams, that's what we're going to talk about in this video.
Well, the irony is actually spending money just puts you in higher brackets against higher players, so it all works out the same one way or another, right?
And worse. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And there's always somebody going to spend more, so I don't know if it matters much.
All right. Well, let's talk strategy then instead of spending tips, because I think that'll be more valuable to the community. All right. So here we are in game, looking at my save squads, and this top team right here, this Black Order, for me, this is the scariest team that I end up fighting. And I end up having to use Black Order to counter Black Order. But if I'm out of Black Order, I have no idea what to do. What are you using in when you see a Black Order on war defense nowadays?
Okay, so I'll be frank with you. We don't see a lot of Black Order on defense. Usually we see it on a couple key rooms, like Med Bay or something like that, right? Okay. Where it's the global news. You might see a Black Order, and it's usually. I mean, we came up with one that was fully boosted and, you got all the global buffs and all that stuff. And it was like over 700K. It's a problem. And a lot of times, the answer is Black Order and then a cleanup team. The thing about Black Order is if it's an entirely different matchup if you do kill one member, because then Thanos won't be empowered on round 2. But there are a lot of alt teams that can beat or punch across, maybe even punch down. That people use. They usually involve some variation with Ultron, maybe like X-Men with Ultron. What I'm seeing though is people are using Black Order versus Black Order.
And when it's that big, you're going for 2 taps on these teams. Not possible to one tap them if they're too big.
And then you can take a different team in on the second one because it's a much easier match the second time.
Because
absolutely.
No empowered Thanos.
Yeah, no empowered Thanos. And whether or not, and if even getting through Thanos ultimate, let's say you don't kill somebody, that also matters. But we're talking about I saw a team that had a 7 red Thanos and the rest of the team was 6 red and it was fully T4'd. There's some big teams out there and realistically that's a 2-tap. It's just... That's what it comes down to sometimes.
All right, two tap is the solution for most Black Orders if they're too big, and Black Order if they're not. Let's move down to this other team that I have trouble with. I've beaten it a few times, but only with big punch downs. And I saw you have a big punch down on stream like a few weeks ago with X-Men. And still, Doc Ock just so strong. So what are you finding is the most effective solution when you see a Sinister 16 with Dr. Octopus?
All right, if I saw that team, there's a couple different choices that you can use. I think X-Force is gold pretty much everywhere. And then Supernatural can pull that off. The trick to using Supernatural is that with Mordo, you want to stun Rhino and not blind him. You want to make sure that if you use Mordo's middle ability, you want to target Rhino and make sure that you get the stun on him rather than blind. Now, if that doesn't stick, that's another problem. I think having heal block from Mordo, and the problem with Supernatural is if it really a lot of times comes down to whether or not Doctor Strange survives or not.
Yeah, all the time with Supernatural, with them against Mercs all the time. Doctor Strange, he needs to survive or you're in trouble, or die very late in the battle once it's already in hand. But yeah, this is the problem.
Be very careful. Like I can see right there that if you had a 14 Doc Ock, that would be a lot worse. It's really that the 4 you're gonna look at the Doc Ock, and if it's a 6'6", Doc Ock and 14, that's a hard match. It really is.
And if you saw that, would you still use X-Force against this team, or are you going for another?
No, that's actually a tricky team. See, your size of team, a lot of things can take it out, but those big ones, man, those are tricky for sure. Then you're using your premium X-Force team, Black Order, or even, depending how big they are, you're gonna have to use a top tier team. Absolutely.
Yeah, they're always a problem. All right, next one that gives people problems is these guys right here. Two versions of this team, pretty much. One with Sabretooth, one with Blob. What are you finding is more challenging for you, the Sabretooth version or the Blob version? And
I don't see the Blob version. I don't see it at all. I haven't seen it yet. Since ISO 8 came out, it seems like a lot of people have reverted back to the Sabretooth because the Skirmisher Striker combo works actually pretty well on that team. And so people have gone back to Sabretooth. They put the Skirmisher on Sabretooth, and then you get that cool Striker Skirmisher combo going on, and it really comes down to the size of the Strife. And there are a couple. Here's the thing is, depending on the size of the Strife, you can use one of those Ultron hybrid teams, but you probably will time out if you can't get through the Strife.
Okay.
So you will time out if you can't get through the Strife, and then that becomes a Black Order team. And then if you use Black Order against the team, then it's a matter of saving the flip until after Emma goes and making sure your Thanos is not adjacent to Cull, because when Strife does the ability block move, you absolutely positively do not want Thanos to be ability blocked to do the flip. And then what happens then is usually you're able to clear the taunt off Strife, and then you're able to stun Mr. Sinister, and then you clean up. But it really comes down to the size of the Strife.
Okay, so if you see a weak Strife, not a problem. But if you're seeing a big Strife, like, oh, I better go in with something a little more serious. Yeah,
if you have there's also some experimental teams that I haven't been seeing going on where they're just like a collection of Zemo and Namor and Ultron and Minerva with just
war characters, war offense characters.
Yeah, and it's just like and I haven't tested it, but I've seen some screenshots where people have collected all those like standalone war characters and put it in a team, and I'm understanding is working at Strife. I found that sometimes you get stuck with the Strife, and when you're using some sort of team with Ultron, right? Whatever that is, there's a bunch of versions of which you can plug Ultron into, and you're just barely getting Strife down to red, and then he takes a turn and gets all that barrier and heals back up. It's really annoying.
That's happened. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's very annoying.
Yeah. So it's all about Strife. That matchup right there is all about Strife.
All right. So Strife, make sure you have an answer for him. Next team that I think a lot of people are using on war defense, and maybe not this particular version of this team, because I don't use this version of this team on war defense, but the Mercs. And I run with Killmonger and Shuri. What are you saying as counter for the Mercs nowadays? I mean, are people still using Supernatural X-Force against the Mercs, or they're reserving them for other teams like we talked about Sinister 6 and some of these other teams? What is your alliance doing, and what do you recommend?
So there's two main counters that we're using. There's only one that I use. I use X-Force when I come across Mercs, and then that becomes a function of whether or not Teenage Warhead can drop anybody on the team below 50%, into yellow. And then you end up double tapping Taskmaster with X-23, and it's over. It's like a landslide. You either blow them up and they're dead, or you lose. It's like really fast.
So it's all about your Negasonic, how much damage she can do to this team to get X-23 set up. If she can't do the damage, then that team will struggle. If she can, then you're good.
Now, the team that most people I see using that I haven't tested myself, so I can't speak to it, is X-Men with Beast, and the problem is I don't have a strong Beast, so I can't speak to that. Then the other two counters for that team would be Supernatural, but that falls apart if Doctor Strange gets blinded and he's not able to do the flip. You lose, basically. And then there's also the Brotherhood 2.0. And also, if Pyro gets blinded, that ends that match pretty quickly.
Usually those are punch downs. I usually end up punching down against the Mercs with Supernatural, and I haven't used Brotherhood in a while because I'm using that against Shield.
Yeah, it's not. Those are not fun times, by the way. Those teams right there. So that's what I'm. But that's an X-Force team. A lot of people are using Zemo, and I'd like to know more about that. Someone sent me a message today that they, Mr. Chip Nasty actually sent me a message today saying, "Hey, I punched up where I took power armor and I got rid of Iron Man and I put Zemo. I've had no testing. It's just a thought.
Okay.
But that's an interesting idea. Like the problem with Mercs is there's like at least 2 or 3 popular builds. There's the Shuri Killmonger build. There's also a build with Ultimist that's designed to blow up Colossus if you do the Beast X-Men counter. So there's a lot of stuff like that. I haven't
seen that one. I'm curious to see how that one plays out against the war. Last team, and I had a hard time figuring out what is the most annoying team. Chat in this morning in the live stream was saying this team, the Young Avengers with Captain Marvel. I don't know if they're that tricky, but if you see this on war defense, what are you doing against this team?
It depends on the size of the Captain Marvel.
Okay.
And if it's a 14 Captain Marvel high red stars, I'm going to use Inhumans on that.
Okay. And targeting who first?
Well, you have to go through
Marvel.
No, you have to go through Ms. Marvel first. You just have no choice. You have to. Yeah, and so the other choice that does work on slight punch across, and depending on the size of the Captain Marvel would be Tech Nerva, Vision, Minerva, and Rocket Group, and usually the idea is to burst down the Ms. Marvel with that initial burst with Rocket and Star-Lord. And if you can get through Ms. Marvel, then you can kind of take the team apart.
Yeah, whenever I see this team, a Young Avengers team in Blitz, Ms. Marvel is normally my primary target. I don't see this one that much in War, though, so I did want to get your thoughts on it.
And then it also depends on what room you're in. If you're in a room, like you can actually use power armor against that team too. But it depends on, because you'll spawn with defense up. But if it's a defense down room, that could be a problem.
Got it.
So it depends. Actually power armor. I never recommend power armor. I'm going to back up. I have so many problems with
I like power armor better than you. I don't run into as many problems. I think I've gotten lucky because there are ways that team could fall apart if rescue gets taken out early. But yeah. I've been crossing my fingers on that recently.
Yeah.
Not that much problems with Asgardians nowadays. Not that many problems with Hydra nowadays. So let's not mention it. But before we go, I do want to mention this team, the new improved Symbiote team. What are you using them for in War? Are you keeping them together? Are you splitting them up? Are they a counter to the Black Order, or are you using them against another team?
No, they are. I don't think they're an effective counter to Black Order. No, I don't think that.
I hear they win, but it's very RNG dependent. And in War, you don't want it. You don't want to risk things like that.
You first of all, in War, the idea is, an 80% win is usually not good enough in War. You know what I mean? Especially when you want sure wins. You don't want a dropped attack. I mean, it's really, you want the win. In Overkill, it's usually underrated. That typically is just an auto play against Asgardians, and right. I hate to say that. It's just like, what else are you going to use against Asgardians? It's an easy win. It really is.
All right, so those are some of the War defense teams and some of their counters, some of the scariest War defense teams that you might run across in today's game, especially now that we have ISO 8 in the game. Any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Overkill is underrated.
That sounds funny, but that is.
And in War, man, it's not about punch ups or it's about hard counters and sure wins. It really is. It's
sure wins.
It's about a sure win. It's about having a confident, divisive win where there was very little chance of a loss, and it comes down to Overkill's underrated in War. Absolutely.
I'm feeling the same way. I've been risking stuff and it hasn't been going as well, and just win. So stuff. All right. Before you go, this weekend we're playing a little game.
Yeah.
Oh, you're looking very sus, dude. You're looking very sus. You look like an imposter.
Yeah. So we're gonna get a lot of really fun people together. From Galaxy of Heroes and Reminex and Tony. I can't say his name right. Sanjili, Skuncumulative.
Zeke's gonna be there.
Zeke's is going to be there. Momo's, she goes by Momo on Twitch, but we know her as Zeke's.
Yes.
As long as you don't bother her about Marvel Strike Force, you just can't talk to her about Marvel Strike Force when she's streaming.
And whatever game she's playing, you can talk to her about.
She's down. She's really cool, but she just won't talk about Marvel Strike Force when she's off work.
Yeah, she could get in trouble. It's just something blurted out accidentally. So I get it.
So that's at 6 o'clock Pacific time on Saturday. So that's 1 hour after a server reset. Most people know what time server reset is, right? It's in different time zones, but it's 1 hour after server reset.
We'll be there, guys.
Saturday.
We'll be there.
I'll be killing 10 of us.
Killing.
Yeah. Oh, we have so much fun. Yeah,
it was fun last time, Bryce.
Yeah.
Stop
so
by.
Much fun.
Stop by. All right, brother. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Links for OhEmGee, all that stuff is down below. Make sure you subscribe, smash that like button, join the notification squad, ring that bell, leave a comment, give me a Hulk fist bump before you leave, brother. ValleyFlyin Mobilegamer out.